Will democracy survive in the next couple of years?
And essentially, we are the same.
And there are so many needs that Minnesota has.
What people are saying they need right now.
Access to democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, the Answer Company. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center in Medi-Spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. Firefly Credit Union, with locations throughout the Twin Cities, has proudly served Minnesotans since 1925. Firefly guides its members forward by delivering customized financial solutions to improve their lives in all aspects of banking. Firefly Credit Union, they light the way with life illuminated. Edina Eye, Physicians and Surgeons, a division of Twin Cities Eye Consultants, has proudly served the Twin Cities for more than 55 years. Now in 7 convenient locations. Using the most advanced technology combined with human touch, Edina Eye offers comprehensive services for dedicated specialists committed to excellence with innovative procedures and expertise for the most advanced eye care.
Hello and welcome to Access to Democracy. I am your host for this episode, Bill Raker, or perhaps I should say presenter for this episode, and you, our viewers, would be the guests. If you're a regular for Access to Democracy, and we hope that you are, you know that the format is that we have a guest and a host, and they have interesting dialogue along some topical subjects. But for this episode, we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to speak on scams and frauds in the mode of the pandemic. And so it's more of a presentation than it is a discussion. And to facilitate that presentation, I want to use a PowerPoint deck that will help illustrate the points that I want to make. And so with a little luck and technology and skill, I'm going to bring up my PowerPoint. And there we seem to have it. So if I get in the presentation mode, and there we are. Let's see. There, that's the slide I wanted to start with, not the second one. I'd like to start by saying just a word about AARP and then about the Fraud Watch Network. Some of you may be familiar with the origins of AARP, where a retired school principal found one of her retired teachers living in a chicken coop. And she was appalled that a lady that had worked all of her life did not have a better place to live and better health and better facilities. And so she decided that she would create an organization that would look after the well-being of people over 50. And so that's how AARP came into existence. And it's a natural part of the philosophy and the mission of AARP to be concerned about the financial well-being of people over 50. And so that's how the Fraud Watch Network came into existence. And the Fraud Watch Network here in Minnesota, it's actually a national organization, but there are about a dozen of us. We meet monthly with the staff at AARP for training and to get updates on the various scams and frauds that are coming into play and some of the new techniques that have been employed with the older scams. But we also get outside training, as I recently completed a 4-day training session with the International Association of Financial Crimes Investigators. So that's how we come about to be the Fraud Watch Network. And one of the things that we do as volunteers is to present programs like we're going to do here today on access to democracy to help educate people about the frauds and scams related to the COVID virus. And here's one of the reasons why we do that. The scams are up 400% since the beginning of this year. Those particularly related to the COVID-19 virus. Through the end of September, nationally, there were over 200,000 complaints registered with the Federal Trade Commission. And there was reported $145 million lost in those scams. Now, those are only the reported numbers. And as we all know, there are many more episodes and incidences that don't get reported. But it gives you an idea of the scale that we're talking about here. So why is this program important? What's the value of it? Well, it's been established that if a person is aware of a scam or a fraud tactic, that person is 80% less likely to become a victim. And by being aware, we also mean that you understand what the scam is and how it works and how to avoid it. And that's what we're going to be talking about. But the study also said that if you are aware, but you still become victimized, you are 40% less likely to suffer a significant loss. So as you can see, the key to avoid becoming a victim or avoid significant losses is to be aware of what the scams are and how to avoid them. And that's what we're going to talk about. So just how big is this scam business? $16 billion a year, huge. And it's very profitable for the scammers because they don't pay taxes on it, obviously. Well, here we are in the pandemic, which we had hoped would be over by now, but it seems like it's going to be getting worse for the next foreseeable future. But that puts us in what we call the perfect storm for scamming. We are experiencing fear and uncertainty. We are isolated. We are required to, stay at home, shelter in, not to go out into groups. There's the anonymous communication technology, and by that I mean the scammers have at their access the ability to create web pages that look exactly like legitimate businesses. They have the ability to do robo-dialing, to put out millions of calls to reach out to the potential victims. And so this technology makes it very easy for the scammers to stay very busy identifying and victimizing their suspects. The financial turndown puts us in a state of financial concern about what's going to happen next. Lots of unemployment, people worried about their jobs. The whole economy is looking a whole lot different than it did a year ago. Fake news seems to be no end to fake news. There's even fake news about fake news. So when we put all of these things together, we see that we're in a perfect storm that sets up the populace of the country to be victimized by the very smart and very persistent scammers. So let's talk about some of the red flags that we as consumers can be aware of and help to be on the alert. The scammers want to get the victim into such a state of mind that they really cannot think rationally and they can't make good decisions. And so how they do that is that they go after the emotions of the victim. One of the first things they want to create is fear in the mind of the victim. Fear that something bad is something bad's going to happen to them, something dreadful is already in the works to cause them pain. They put the victim under time pressure. You must make a decision now. You must act now. You have only a limited amount of time to do exactly what I'm going to tell you to do. And then here's the isolation part, because once they get fear and time pressure created in the mind of the victim, they tell the person, you cannot speak to anyone about what I am telling you and what I'm asking you to do. Stay in isolation, stay away from everybody else, no communication. And then they throw in the consequential threats. Do this or else. You know, as an example, someone saying that they're from the Social Security Department says that your account has been compromised and you need to pay a fee or a fine to get out of this compromised position. So I want you to go to Best Buy or Target and get a gift card and come back and call me and read me the numbers on the cards. And you've got only 12 hours to do this or 24 hours to do this. And if you don't, I'm going to issue a warrant for your arrest. That's the consequence. And as I've already mentioned, they want you to pay by gift cards. And I'll talk a little bit later about staying within the traditional banking system and not falling for the kinds of payments that the scammers demand that we have, that we offer to them. So you can see about being aware, if you understand these red flags and you know when you're falling into the trap of one or all of these red flags, that you're on the verge of becoming a victim of a scam. So let's look at some of the trending scams in the COVID era. Fake tests, tracking hits, and curses. And I'll talk about the fake tests first. At this point, there is no test that is readily available for people to take at home, although the FDA has approved one that will be on the market shortly, as we understand it, but it is available only through a prescription and can be issued only through the medical and the healthcare system. It isn't something that you can buy off the internet or buy from someone who's on the phone trying to sell you one. Although we do have incidences, Chaska is an example of people reporting to the police over there that they're getting calls where the caller is saying something like this. According to our system, you are likely to have been in close proximity to someone who has tested positive for COVID-19. This means that you now need to self-quarantine for 7 days and to take a COVID-19 test. So the caller eventually asked for a $50 payment, and along with the address and credit card information, seeking to swindle people by exploiting the COVID fears. And as I said, there is no test that's available by mail or over the internet. And we'll talk about tracking a little bit later on. So some of the other scams that are at play right now, you know, the scammers, they watch the headlines, they see every opportunity, and they early on devised a number of scams to take advantage of the pandemic. Here's a couple of kind of silly ones, it seems like, but they're out there. You get a fake letter about mask guidance, and it's made to look like it comes from the Center for Disease Control, CDC, and they give bad advice on whether or not you should use a mask. But here's another one. You get an email, a fake email that says you can get an mask-free card. Get out of mask-free card. And it's disguised to look like it's coming from the Minnesota Department of Health. But here are some of the other things that are out there. What we call supply scams. Scammers are creating fake shops and websites, social media accounts, and email addresses claiming to sell medical supplies currently in high demand, such as surgical masks or just more standard masks. Well, it's more advisable to buy the masks if you need them from a local source so that you better understand what you're getting. Because if you try to buy some of these things off the internet, you don't know whether you're going to get a product at all after you've sent in your payment. And even if you do, you have no idea what the quality of the product is going to be. So consumers should stay away from those kinds of suppliers. There's provider scams, and they go along these lines. The scammers are contacting people by phone and by email, pretending to be doctors and hospitals that have treated a friend or relative for COVID-19 and demanding payment for that treatment. Ignore those demands. Because remember, if there is a medical breakthrough, you won't hear about it for the first time through emails or online or unsolicited sales pitches. Phishing scams. Scammers are posing as national and global health authorities, including the World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control or Prevention, and seeking to get information from the potential victim that would lead to an identity theft. We've talked about some of these points already, where the scammers are using all avenues of social media available to them to reach out to potential victims. Charity imposters, which I want to talk about in a little bit later in the program, so we'll hold on to that one. And then I want to talk about stuck-at-home scams as well. So these are some of the trending ones. So let's take a look at the contact tracing scam. Here's how this particular scam works. You get a phone call that says, I'm calling from your local health department to let you know that you have been in contact with someone who has COVID-19. And then they move in for the kill, asking for payment information before they're able to continue with you. And so they want to get a credit card or a bank checking account so that they can get your money. That's the first thing that they're after. And they may be after other things as well. But don't fall for that, because legitimate contact tracers don't ask for payment or seek other financial information. In fact, you won't get a call or an email from the World Health Organization or the Center for Disease Control, or from Medicare or from Social Security asking you or telling you that you have to be in the contact tracing program. You may get a call from the local health department or from the Minnesota Department of Health, but the only thing that they will ask you for is where you have been, outside of your home, and maybe your name. They'll never ask you for personal information like your Medicare number or your Social Security number, driver's license, or birth date, or any of those things. If anyone is contacting you and asking you for that kind of information related to contact tracing, hang up on them, because they're scamming you. The important thing to remember here is that under no circumstances are you to give out any of your personal information, because that's not how the contact tracing works. There are no known, or at least scientifically proven, treatments, cures, vaccines, or preventative meds for COVID at this time. As we recently learned, there are some vaccines in development, 2, maybe 3. So very soon they should be in the marketplace, but they will only be available from your doctor or from the healthcare system, the healthcare network that you participate in. They will not be available from the internet or any of the other sources. So what you should do is rely on your healthcare professionals or navigate through trusted organizations to avail yourself of the vaccine when it becomes available, or for treatments or other medications that may be related to the COVID virus as they may become available in the future. So I encourage you to turn away from scare tactics, special offers, or must act right now kinds of warnings, because these are all some of the tactics, some of the approaches that the scammer will use in order to scare you into doing something that you will regret later on, or that may actually turn out to be very dangerous for you to do. Stay within the healthcare professional network. And as we've already mentioned, and we'll say it again, don't give out personal information. No birth date, no social security number, no driver's license, no Medicare number. None of those things are necessary to participate in these programs. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about charity scams. We're in the time of the holidays, when people are feeling more generous and they welcome more welcoming of opportunities to contribute to charities and to worthwhile organizations. And the scammers know that that's the right time to be ready to pounce. So they also follow disasters or tragedies like the hurricanes down south, the fires out west. But be very careful. The fake charities, the websites are made to, as I pointed out earlier, they have the technology to make the website look almost identical to what a legitimate charity website would look like. But the scammer is going to use high pressure or emotional approaches to get you to come under their spell and make the contribution that they're asking you to make. As I said, many of them use very similar names, very similar to well-known organizations. So we have to be very cautious. You know, if you're getting an email that is purportedly from a charity, one way you can check on the legitimacy of it is to hover your mouse over the incoming email address, and it will show you the email address that came from. And it should contain the name of the charity or the name of the individual that is soliciting from you. And if you recognize the name of the charity and the individual, then it should be a safe website to visit. But if the website, the address does not identify, the email rather, does not identify the charity that it is purporting to come from, that is a fake solicitation. Pay attention to how to contribute. You know, they're going to ask you for cash or wire transfers or gift cards, rather than the traditional being able to send in a check or to use your credit card or debit card. How to protect yourself? Well, for charities, we suggest that you check one or more of these websites. An easy one to remember is www.give.org or checkthecharity.com would be another one that you would want to check out. The stuck-at-home scams, you know, very quickly to go through these. The Medicare scams. This is Medicare enrollment period. There are lots of people reaching out to help those who are looking to enroll or to change their plans. Some of them are legitimate insurance agencies, but typically they may be pushing a particular health insurance provider because they get a larger benefit, commission from them. But typically, a scam is looking for all of the information that you would give to enroll in a plan, such as your address, your birth date, and your social security number and Medicare number. Be very careful about giving those out. Puppy scams, this is an old one, but it's back in play again because we're isolated, we're at home, we're lonely. We're looking for companionship, something or someone that we can, relate to. So you see an advertisement on Facebook. Here's a little puppy down in Florida for sale. We've got one left. It's only $6.95, very cute, and I can have it on its way to you today. You give them your credit card, your debit card, and you think the puppy's being shipped to you, and a day or two later, you get a phone call that says, I'm the shipper for your puppy. I'm going to be delivering it to you, but I need to pay the shipping charges. the veterinarian bill for the examination and the vaccinations and the license, and that'll be another $750. Be careful of those. Romance scams, again, they're old, but they're new because we're isolated, we're lonely. It's very easy to fall into the kind of communication that turns into a relationship that becomes very detrimental later on. So be very, very cautious. You may get a call or an email that says your home, your car, your HVAC system needs to be sanitized, to prevent you from getting COVID. Don't pay any attention to that. They'll want payment up front, and chances are they're not going to deliver anything, but even if they could, there's no proven sanitizing process that they can use in these particular environments. Online shopping, we're doing a lot more of that today. We have to be very careful that the website that we're working on is a legitimate one and not a fake one where we send in our money and we think we're going to get a product back, and we never do get the product. But when we do, it was nothing like what we saw on the website. The shipping scam works this way. I've got a couple of them myself the last 2 days. It's from DHL, FedEx, or the post office that says they're trying to deliver a package to me, and they need me to respond to this email to give them some information so that they can complete the delivery. Well, I never ordered anything. I'm not expecting any delivery. But if I click on the link that they're asking me to go to, they're either going to download malware onto my computer, which we don't want, or they're going to ask me to give some personal information and a credit card number or something of that nature. None of those delivery systems will ever contact you via an email like that to reel you in, but the scammer will. Here, very quickly, the Zoom extortion is very new. Lots of folks are on Zoom these days for many different reasons, but here's how this particular extortion works. You get an email or you get a phone call, most likely it's a phone call, that says, the other day you were on a Zoom and you forgot to turn your camera off, or you forgot to turn your microphone off. And I have some very embarrassing scenes or some very embarrassing comments from you, and I'm going to put these out on Facebook unless you send me $1,000 in gift cards. Okay, monitor your credit reports. That's what we want you to do. Stay within the traditional banking system by using checks, debit cards, credit cards, or some other protection, some other payment system that has protection or recourse built into it. But avoid the gift cards, wire transfers, money orders, or Bitcoins, because that's how a scammer will ask you to pay them, but a legitimate business will not demand payment that way. You can get a free credit report. Actually, this says once every 12 months, but because of the CARES Act, you can get one every week if you want. But be sure you go to the annualcreditreport.com website and not My Credit Karma or My Credit Report, because they will want your personal information and they are likely to charge you a fee. These others are free, or you can order them over the phone, 877-322-8228. Unsure if it's a scam? Have you or someone you know been victimized? There's a helpline available at AARP, 1-877-908-3360. Share what you've learned today. Don't hesitate to report actual or suspected fraud or scams. Stop, think, verify, be aware. Do not be a victim. Thank you very much.